Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Sorry about the technological hiccups, but that's what happens when you have an idiot on this side of the broadcast spectrum. Thank you so much for joining me on this hour. You supposed to be Monster Monday. I was attempting to go live on Saturday and Sunday, and then there were tech issues and time issues involved with that. Well, you don't need to know all that. All you need to know is that, yes, the channel's back. I'm back. The link was broken. Whatever. Um, anyway, guys, long story short is that I had planned on doing an episode. And mind you, I try to keep this is a little preamble because I need you to know the context of this, right? So, um, to let you guys know that I don't really keep too deep into pop culture because for a number of reasons. One is I'm a glass half full kind of person, and when I see like people delving into negativity or just blasting each other, things like that, I tune out. I can't, and it doesn't matter whether I like the thing or don't like the thing. Um, I just tune out when the last couple of years with the whole Star Wars people flame warring each other over Star Wars. I just tune out. So, but I decided that I'm still going to go ahead with this episode. So, for those who don't know, I'm just getting back into the channel. I thought I would do uh, another passion of mine are movies and television, and sometimes movies and television shows that are like not the best execution. So I thought I would go, let's go with a great premise, terrible execution. And I decided to pick Dollhouse. Now, for some of you out there, like Dollhouse wasn't really a terrible execution, but there are terrible circumstances. And I thought I would throw out those, put this out before the terrible circumstances completely blasted. Now, to let you know, I am aware of the controversy that's out there, considering the creator of the show. So if you have a problem with what's going on currently with the creator of the show, Joss Whedon, I honestly, completely understand you not wanting to bother with this at all, right? But I would suggest to you that like as most of us know, we only know what things are said online or Twitter, things like that, and 99% of that stuff is just people's opinions. We don't know the truism. I will say that no matter what happens, I hope that the people involved get what they deserve. If that makes any sense to you, for good or bad. Oh man, yeah. So to give you a little context here, now that we're talking about Dollhouse, oops, I forgot to pull up the series because I wanted to read out the premise of it because I'm sure it is able to be far more descriptive than I can. So this show aired in 2009, and unlike the movies we talked about, this is a television show. And Dollhouse is an American science fiction television series that was created by writer and director Joss Whedon and premiered in February of 2009 on the Fox network. The show revolves around a corporation running numerous underground establishments known as dollhouses around the globe that program individuals referred to as actives with temporary personalities and skills. Wealthy clients hire actives from dollhouses at great expense for various purposes, including heists, sexual encounters, assassinations, expert counsel, and all manner of unique experiences. The series primarily follows the active known as Echo, played by Eliza Dushku. I hope that's how her first name is pronounced, or last name as well. On her journey towards self-awareness, Dushku also serves as series producer. Dollhouse initially received mixed reviews and underwhelming ratings, but improved enough to be renewed for a second season. After the second season finale, the series was canceled. All right, so um, you guys know that I'm an armchair transhumanist, and yeah, and mind you, listen, I honestly, like Deadman says, Eliza Dushku is anti-transhumanist. I really don't care about I can separate the art from the artist. Some people don't particularly like if they don't like a particular person or individual in a series or something like that, they can't watch it. I really don't care about people's beliefs or politics or anything like that. I don't find them to be particularly important. Their opinions to be any more important than anyone else's. Others don't like the fact that people in the media, artists and things like that, have a larger platform to speak about a thing. But it never bothers me. But the television, mind you, the television show series ended in 2009, so it's been a while. I Talking about the series itself. What I liked about the series and what I think we can steal from it, because the whole point of this is to steal from it for ideas for role playing games, is the idea that there's in the show they tried to build a world in which something like the Dollhouse would exist. Now, yes, the technological advancement of the world, usually in a lot of speculative science fiction, usually there's one technology that has advanced and everything else has pretty much stayed the same. And yet, in this particular series, what we see is we have a corporation that is kind of undercover. It seems as if criminals and the wealthy and the rich and the elite know the Dollhouse exists, or maybe they are reached out to, whereas the general public, general authorities don't know what they do, or they suspect what they do, but no one knows what the inner workings are like. And I suppose you could make this analogous to high-tech corporations and governments, where in general we know what they're doing, but behind the scenes we don't know exactly what they're doing, right? And this Dollhouse corporation, or it might even be, I mean, even though they refer to themselves as Dollhouse, it might have an official corporate name. We don't understand what it is their full potential is, and the people in it even have different opinions on how they treat their actives, their assets. Yeah, Rickard says, I tend to separate the artist and the art first when I can enjoy the art without paying without paying the artist. And you know what? Yeah, call me a hypocrite or whatever, but I'm the same way. Like for me, hey, I can enjoy H.P. Lovecraft, but F you, right? Like, hell, Conan the Barbarian series and things like that. A lot of these things were written at a time when, like, there, at a minimum, there were problematic racist elements to it. So I can enjoy it, knowing that those problematic things are there. But if I don't have to give you a dime, I'm fine with it. And I'm with you there, Rickard. Like, I don't believe in destroying things or erasing things or erasing problematic things, but I don't have to support your career to enjoy it. I can take with it. Yeah. Yeah, and Cam says, yeah, I'm with you there. Rickard, unless it spoils the art because I'm forced to think about the things they've done, that just ruins it for me. It's less of what I prefer, more of what appeals to me. Yep. And also, let's be honest, sometimes some artists, you look back at what they've done and you're going, you, you we layer on what it is that they've done, their heinous actions, and you realize what they've created was like some kind of homage to it, and you feel like icky about it, like, oh my god, oh. you know I bring up R. Kelly and a song I think he created called like Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, and you're just like, ooh, dude, oh god. So there is that problem. All right, back to the Dollhouse. What Now, mind you, this kind of science fiction has always been around. Most recently, I want to say there's a show called Humans, or Human 2.0, where you have androids and the androids look human, but they're not, and they're becoming self-aware. There's the show Black. Ooh, my brain just farted on me. Someone remind me. The show about clones. It lasted at least 4 seasons. I want to. For some reason, Black Dahlia is coming to my mind, and I don't. That's not it. Um, what is the actress's name? Miss Lonnie. Oof. Wow. Anyway, there have been other shows where science, the idea of what we perceive something to be human or not, Orphan Black. Thank you so much there, Dead Man, because you're always there before I bet Dead Man was sitting back like, dude, you know this. Don't make me type, bang. Yes, Black Orphan Black is a television show as well. Um, the idea that cloning and copying minds and all that kind of stuff, especially for transhumanist like role playing games, is a thing that the Dollhouse really embraces. And yeah, Orphan Black, Canadian science fiction thriller TV series created by Graham Manson or Manson and director John Fawcett, starring Tatiana Maslany as several clones. Series focuses on Sarah Manning, a woman who assumes the identity of one of her fellow clones, Elizabeth Childs, after witnessing child suicide. And one of the problematic things that really appeared, is it Graham? Pronounced Graham? Thank you there, Tesla. Yeah, one of the problems in Dollhouse, from a moral and or ethical stance, is that they don't go into details, but they give this idea that you can sign over your life for 5 years, and you sign over your body, your life, and they wipe your brain and I'll use it as a empty husk for their services. Now, some would say that while we think about this as a problematic thing, right? Like Omen mentions, is Westworld also an example of what you're talking about? I absolutely believe that Westworld is an example of that. Um, yeah, and I'm with you there, Rickard. Like Lovecraft is a super interesting example. That's interesting to look at. Maybe, yeah, we might even do it tomorrow. Um, although I wouldn't say it's terrible execution, but yeah, it kind of fits into that. So the idea that you can sign over your life for 5 years, in exchange for something on the other end. I believe the television show doesn't go into what you receive on the other end, but some would say that technology can push us to the point where there are things we desire that even if we had free choice to pick a thing, we shouldn't pick that thing. And that's where the overindulgence and the over oppression of government or rules and rulings come in. Meaning that if the Dollhouse existed, if you could sign your life over for 5 years and receive something brilliant at the end, something amazing like millions of dollars, or safety and security for your family and loved ones, or something like that. But they do some pretty horrendous things to your body while keeping your mind on in storage. Some would say that maybe you're agreeing to something you're not quite aware of the ramifications of. And I can't imagine the Dollhouse literally openly telling people, "Oh yeah, we're going to use your body for, at a minimum, for sexual conquest, and at a maximum, we're going to put your body into dangerous situations and have you saying and doing things that, though it's your face, it's not you doing it." Yeah, yeah, yeah. Omen says, "Just because you can doesn't mean you should." I bet I bet that is something. Sistra. I bet that is something like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's where I think we can start off with the Dollhouse, right? So if we were, if the player characters, Rickard says, given that I'm 35 plus, I can tell you that signing away my body for 5 years is a bad trade. You can only enjoy life for so many years without back pain. Yeah. They don't really let you know that after the 5 year period, you start feeling out your body. You're like, what? Why do certain orifices and body parts hurt more than the others? And they're like, yeah, you don't want to know. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah, they didn't say we give it back to you in the condition in which you gave it to us, or at least maybe they could hose it down or something. But I think as the protagonist, like if you had a role playing game, for me, the idea of like switching bodies and personalities and skill sets and things like that, if you or yourselves, like me, or many other people out there that play role playing games, I think this is a perfect opportunity to have somebody who hates to play the same character twice and keeps coming up with better ideas. It's like, hey, this time can I play a person with this personality, this, pick these skills and do this thing? And the answer would be like, of course you can, because you're a doll. You can just be anything you want. Yeah, Deadman says the quote, "Just because you can doesn't mean you should," originated with Jurassic Park. Yes, yes, yes. A Very much so, because of playing, as the saying goes, playing God essentially is the issue. Um, yeah, yeah. As a 50-year-old, you youngins with your back pain, I'll show you a thing or two. Most of which would happen in the restroom. Okay, so I think starting off, the idea that you could have a cadre of special agents where they are downloaded with special skills. Now, in the Dollhouse show, the skills are associated with a particular personality set. Sometimes those personalities have their own limitations, whether it was like asthma or claustrophobia or forgetfulness or I don't any other kind of personality quirks or even limitations. Like I would say the asthma is one. Um, the I think that would be a great way to, you could have a series of personality traits, skill sets, and the players can choose amongst themselves what they want to pick to go on a particular mission for a particular thing. And it doesn't necessarily mean everyone has to be like a combat badass. In the show Dollhouse, they had everything from uh, someone playing a midwife to a survivalist to um, a right hand person for like diplomacy and business and medicine and things of that nature, as different governments and corporations needed to use agents from the Dollhouse for their various needs. And again, when the mission is done, this could very easily be a series of one shots or monster of the week type of thing, where the players go on a mission, they come back, and then when the game starts up again, especially if you guys are running games that have a big gap in the middle, like maybe you play with someone once a month and it's difficult to recall what happened the last session, you could still run the same game even if the storylines are a bit separated by time, playing in the same world and just playing different characters. Where technically you're not playing different characters, you're playing dolls, right? You're playing this switchable personalities, switchable skill sets, but playing in the same from the same corporate entity, if that's how the dolls are being used. Yeah, like Omen says, in a sense, though, when role playing games, aren't you essentially possessing a character of sorts? I absolutely agree. There is a little meta to it, isn't it? Though, like, hey, I'm possessing someone who's doing a thing, but I'm like piloting them. I'm riding them from a distance to get them to do a thing. And the next time we see that person, I'm changing what they do in a meta sense, like role playing game, but which is actually happening in the real world. Yeah, in the world of the Dollhouse. Yeah, absolutely. And it brings to light the idea that I mean that's the gaming part of it, but the introspection part of that is what kind of moral obligation do we have to protect the dolls, if any? And would you feel funny doing that? Like, for example, um, let's say you had six individuals who gave themselves to the dollhouse. Would you feel odd playing in someone else's meat mech? You're very much a meat mech. Oh shoot, yeah, yeah, it is like piloting meat mechs. It sure is. And um, kind of weird too, because like I suppose if you, depending on how intricate the dollhouse is, one player character could go down, and that player character with that personality could say, "Oh, load me up into another meat mech, put me out there to the out there into the world there, buddy." And they're like, "Sure thing," and then the meat mech gets released. Yeah. Also, you can have kind of really cool stories where a personality is in a body their loved one doesn't recognize, but you're still trying to reconnect with that individual. So, let's go with something very, very typical. A long lost love is out in the world, and their loved one disappears. We find out that the loved one disappeared into the dollhouse. Player characters playing one of the dolls. Every time someone uploads that personality with that skill set, they keep trying to reconnect with their lost love. But the lost love keeps getting these weird, being followed and getting phone calls and being stalked by people, each person looking different and acting seemingly different ages, different genders, but they happen to have traits that remind them of their lost love, which is a weird thing. Also, it brings up the question, if there's someone who has a personality that you are compatible with, would you think of them differently in a different body? In the television show, the director of the Dollhouse at one point tends to engage in some of her own personal fantasies, and one of them, she has a personality, someone that she loves, and she takes a random doll, random body, meat sack from the that's in cold storage. She uploads the personality and starts having like a romantic relationship, and it's like, oh, that's cute, until you realize that the person she's with, like, that person didn't agree to have that relationship with her. She just loves the personality. So it begs the question, maybe there's someone like a best friend or something like that that maybe you wouldn't think of having maybe a sexual relationship with, but if they were in a different body and gender, maybe you might think otherwise, right? All right, so players playing dolls as being, switching bodies, stuff like that, pretty self-evident, right? But what if you are also a watcher, a shepherd? In the show, each doll was assigned like an Overwatch person, a person to ensure that the doll doesn't get killed, even if they go into a dangerous situation. I hate to make this analogy, but it's much like a pimp watching over their charges, right? Now, Rickard says, unsure if they did it in the show, but in the Altered Carbon book, they touched on loved one. They touched on loved ones comes back with a new sleeve. Yeah, the idea of a loved one coming back in a new sleeve, and in the I finished the first series, the audio book, and the television. Like, again, the Altered Carbon television show, I agree with you, Rickard doesn't do it much justice, but there is a subplot in the Netflix show, at least Netflix here in the States, where the one police officer that has to join Takashi she's somewhat emotionally confused because she sees the face of the person she was in love with, but doesn't see the personality, right? And we that dichotomy can be played up quite a bit. Um, yeah, almost like very pimp-like indeed. It sure is. So, yeah, that the idea that you may see someone, their physical body, and try to go to them, and they don't recognize you. The personality might be there, but their body looks odd, and that might throw you off. And of course, that's nothing but story fuel. And in my opinion, that's creative fuel to me. But the player characters could actually be like an Overwatch group. So a player character might not be a doll, but they might be watching over dolls that are placed into these hyper specific situations, especially if it would be like a pocket NPC, referring back to our pocket gnome that you can just pull out whenever you need. Get yourself an extra couple of halflings on a keychain. Anyway, yeah, the dolls could be like pocket NPCs that the player characters need to protect when going on a mission to do like the boring stuff while the PCs go around, running and gunning. Like, for example, some kind of uh, the players need a doll for diplomatic envoy. So they download the diplomatic envoy skill set and personality. They take that doll with them. The player characters have to engage in things while some kind of like diplomacy or hostage rescue or corporate contract meeting or something like that, right? Or maybe the PCs need to bring along a medic because they have to do like search and rescue, but the players don't really want to engage in a search and rescue. They've got to hold off, so I don't know, enemy robots or what have you, and and they have to send the search and rescue team down, and the search and rescue is doing things like making sure people they don't receive any further trauma. They have to resuscitate people, and the PCs are like, that's the boring part, but let's do the running and gunning. So there is a possibility that maybe player characters have like pocket NPCs, which take that even further. The players could also have personality chips in their back pockets that they take with them to use in various locations of Dollhouse enclaves. Plug in the personalities that they need with them for a mission, use them, and then just down just pull the chips out when their service is done and move on to another mission, which might be kind of cool. Um, Cameron's like, if only they carried canes, dude. You got to make sure your shoes, your cane, and your hat all match the same color. That's Stacey Adams. That's all I have to say. Designer Stacey Adams. Rickard says, I was thinking specifically of the hacker who gets hired for the final job in the book as well. Oh yeah, yeah. Like, you, the excuse of having the right NPC for the right job seems kind of odd, but the meta of that is maybe the player characters literally do have the right NPC for the right job because they keep carrying around that same NPC with them in their back pocket or hanging on a keychain or something around their neck or whatever, right? And then they just pull that person out, boom, plug them into the system, plug it into the meat mech, into the synth or something. They're like, hey, haven't seen you in a long time. Yeah, you're right. Okay, get to work, hacker. And then the hacker's like, yeah, you got it, boss. Click, clickety click. And they're like, did you get through? He sure did. Boop, pull the chip in and get out of there, leaving the meat sack behind or something. That'd be kind of fun, if a little bit morbid to a certain extent. Um, Rickard says, while I remember while we are doing what we can take from shows and use at our tables days, we should do one of Total Recall 2070 at some point. That's a oldie but goodie. Taken and Taken, Total Recall 2070. Ooh, yeah, yeah. So, maybe the idea that some shows have an excellent premise, terrible execution. I think maybe we might have to add to that excellent premise, terrible execution, or like forgotten gem. Maybe might be a thing as well. Yeah, because it very much deviated from the Total Recall short story idea, the Arnie movie, but it still did an excellent job. 12 Monkeys, I think, did something similar like that, where they diverted away from it. But okay, here's the other thing too. In the show Dollhouse, we also had an agent that was trying to take the dollhouse down. So player characters might be in a place where they are trying to take the dollhouse and the dollhouse activities down, but unfortunately, the their antagonists are innocents being programmed to be kick-ass assassins and martial artists and fighters that are trying to take the PCs and defend against the PCs. But like Cameron says, maybe Cowboy Bebop then? Hmm. Okay. Yeah, although we don't want to go too far into the excellent type series because that opens up a whole nother can of worms. Gotta love the Arnold kicking butt. Yeah, yeah, um we won't have the Arnold again this year. It's going to be virtual again. I'm so disappointed with that. I love it when the Arnold comes here to Central Ohio. I agree with you there, Rickard. So Rickard goes on to say, a good show, though. Not really terrible execution, but definitely a forgotten gem. I absolutely agree. Oh, it's supposed to be Blade Runner, but they couldn't get the. I didn't know that. Ooh, that makes a lot more sense, really. Blade Runner, in a way, might be the progenitor for something like Dollhouse, in the sense of you have these replicants that are supposed to have a limited lifespan, and they want to be independent and be considered to be human, even though they look very human, but they aren't. And there's someone retiring the replicants when they go rogue. And what does going rogue mean for an artificial being? Does it mean just walking off the farm, or does it mean engaging in violent activities? And would we consider it to be different for either one, or would an artificial being simply just wandering off the reservation be enough to be considered something fearful? Right now, the difference in Dollhouse and these other sci-fi series is the idea that the dolls are human beings, right? They're not artificially created, and you get a little bit of this from the show, that the skill sets that they download are from real people and their real personalities. So if Tatiana is a amazing pianist, that the personality of Tatiana, who's an amazing musician and orchestral pianist, um, is a real personality. They didn't construct it artificially. Now, does the show go into detail about that? From what I understand, not really, but it really doesn't matter, right? Maybe the skill sets need to have a personality, and they construct a personality around that skill set to make sense. But you're not really certain, and so, but you also have to think like, since you can download these personalities and skills, does that, if someone could copy your brain, everything you've ever done, everything you are, your entire personality, um, would the copy be artificial? And would it be deletable, or is it a real person? Now, we might think differently about ourselves than someone else. Like those other people, we might go, yeah, that doesn't seem right, just delete them. But if we met ourselves and ourselves feels the way we do, we don't want to be destroyed, because we don't, if you found out that you were the copy, and the real you was somewhere else, you're just like, hell, I'm alive. I don't want to be deleted. So yeah, I would have to say that, I'd have to say that you're going to have some kickback from the people who are going to fight you, or whether they consider themselves to be real or not, because anyone who's sitting in that spot is real. Heck, who knows? Maybe a thousand generations in the future, we find out that we're actually living in a we're living in a artificial simulation, and we really are copies of ourselves from some other simulation, from other civilization or something like that. In which case, hell no, I don't want to be deleted. Yeah, I want to still live on. Uh, Cam's like, oh my god, how have I not suggested this? I feel that most Gundam series have awesome premises and terrible execution. Mechs could be fun to talk about. Um, uh, okay, yeah, um, I always felt that the Evangelion series, although I wish they pronounced it Evangelion. I kind of felt that way about that series too, because it has a lot of like low points, like slow, great action, slow, like kind of like that. So, Gundam series, mech series, things like that. Yeah, why not? Why the hell not? I'm down for that. But we do have to talk about Total Recall 2070 at some point. Omen says they better make it before Harrison Ford kicks it. And with the way things are, while I really hope not, we might just lose him. Yeah, Harrison Ford. They're talking about making another Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford, and I'm just like, why? It doesn't make sense. And listen, I hope this doesn't offend my German brothers and sisters out there, but Indiana Jones is just, it's a period piece to me, and he should just be punching, you know, rebel Nazis in the throat. Sorry, it just that period of time. That's how I look at it. I don't feel like it's only Harrison Ford. I just feel like the man. I feel like the title should have been passed on to someone else. That's all, and that it should embrace that period of time between like World War I and World War II. Are you sure you want to delete personality? Yes or no? Click. Um, yeah, Omen says they could really leave Shinji's love issues, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, yeah. Awesome sauce. Yeah, we'll talk about mechs and everything. Hell yeah. Maybe we do 2070 tomorrow, and then Rickard's like, no, hell no. Yeah, they're like, hey, would you like to delete yourself? Hey, could you imagine like you're walking around with your cell phone, but you can control your own personality, and the amount of times people would like but delete their own personality just by accident by sticking their phone in their pocket. Oh man, what happened to Joe? Oh, Joe went to the bathroom and deleted his personality by accident. All right, I'll get him out the third stall. Hold on. Like Rickard says, I'm with you. Indiana Jones is the 1930s to 40s. Exactly. And when I say like punching Nazis in the throat, I don't mean it directly like that's it. I'm saying like that whole age of exploration, 1920s to 30s, with the background of like maybe there might be war. There's also like resource extraction around the world, like that kind of thing. I don't mean specific cultures. I'm talking like, well, because Indiana Jones, of course, goes everywhere. He goes to India and Bangladesh and China, and you get to do this like world hopping. You always get that dirty map with the line that stretches from one place to another as they're on like some kind of like prop plane or something and just going around the world. That to me, that just driving in cars with um, oh the cars that have like the running boards on the side and stuff with people with like Tommy guns. Like that's Indiana Jones to me. That's just me. Deadman says BattleTech has a massive list of books on the universe of BattleTech. The gameplay for the BattleTech games is very slow. A minute to go over the weapon firing of one mech. I don't remember playing BattleTech, but yeah, we could talk about that too. And like Rickard says, it's like the reason Lovecraft works so much better in the late 1800s, early 1900s. I definitely agree with that, and I agree both with the Lovecraftian thing and the environment. I think is conducive to those kinds of actions and stuff. Ooh, chat disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. Well, since we're coming to the end, I'm not going to worry about that, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much